Hey guys, today on the channel, Roundup Ready alfalfa as a fall food plot starter. Stick with us today. I'll tell you how I do it here on the channel. Like and subscribe if this is of any help to you. Let's get after it. All right guys, so one of the biggest problems we have is summer weed control, right? A lot of us just don't have time or space to put in those, the cash crops, the corn, beans, sugar beets, that kind of stuff in the spring. So we end up just kind of trying to limp our way to July and August planting time. So what happens is we show up to the property, and a lot of times you got a whole bunch of thistle that came up. There's just weed problem after weed problem. So it benefits you to be able to spray Roundup, kill everything but what you want in that plot. And I'm going to show you how I use Roundup Ready alfalfa as a fall food plot starter that then I don't have to pay attention to in the spring and early summer. But here is the Roundup Ready alfalfa that Jim Ward turned me on to, right? So I've got it drilled in rows. You don't have to drill it in rows. I've got a video on the channel of a no-till, spread the seed right before a big thunder boomer rain into dead, dying Roundup grass. That's on the channel. You can see that. I think it's called the Best Value Perennial Plot or something like that. But the bottom line with this stuff is you want to stay at the lower end of the per acre rate, okay? And that's what I did here. So I don't have this awesome, full coverage, big canopy that is suffocating the weeds like a farmer would want in his fields. I drilled this with my Genesis 7.5-inch rows, but I stayed at the 15 pound an acre range when it actually says, hey, if you're gonna have an alfalfa plot, you want to push up to that 20 pound range. Well, I want space between plants here because you can see what happened now. I came by probably 10 days ago or so, and I mowed high. So I mowed up at about 4 inches. And now I've got really lush, good growth coming, but you can see here what's going on underneath, right? I've got a lot of space between these plants. But this Roundup Ready alfalfa, what's nice is I'm gonna be able to spray this today, knock out these weeds, and then once the chemical has sat on the leaf for probably a week or so, I'm gonna come through here. It's gonna be the end of July, and I'm gonna buzz it one more time, and then I'm just gonna let it go. But at the time that I buzz it, I'm gonna do that right before a thunder boomer, and I'm gonna scatter my fall blend into this. I'll show you that on the other side here. I drilled my fall blend into this last year, and it just came out dynamite this year. I've got no weed problems because I killed them in the summer, and then I drilled my fall mix, and then the rye came in and filled the gaps this year. All right, so that's where we were standing down there. We were up along the wood edge. I don't know if you can see the bow stand in that tallest basswood there. Now we're on the east side of the switch, and this is my main core bedding area. I've got one swamp that we really did the work on with the chainsaw. A lot of deer in there, but this is what I want to show you here. Okay, so last year, this alfalfa had Sweet Feast in it. Okay, so I did the same thing I was just talking about. I buzzed it in July, planted my fall stuff right into it, and then I just let them compete. Well, this year, look at this. This was my custom fall blend. It's, what is it? Oats, rye, wheat, radish, pea. So you can see now, look at this. Just look at this alfalfa. So out here, they buzzed it down, and I've mowed it. This is where they eat, but look at what this is. I mean, for those of you guys that have to do combination properties, right? Where you're having a farmer work some of your dirt. Maybe you've got to get some rent out of the deal. You want to sell some hay. Look at this. I mean, I didn't have to let this go to seed. I just did because I don't care. But can you look at this? This alfalfa, it's gone to flower now, so it's not the greatest hay value, but that right there is waist high alfalfa. Okay. Combined with 6 foot tall rye. And then there's winter wheat underneath. See, that's this seed head right here. There's winter wheat. There he is. There's some more. winter wheat underneath. So you can just see how good this hay would have been if I would have had to do, you know, I'm a combination cattle and deer farmer. You know, I'm a combination dairy guy, plus I like deer hunting. I've got a farmer renting land. I want it to be a food plot, but I also want him to get some hay out of the deal. I mean, you've got to work out your timing with the farmer, but this is amazing hay. And just look at what's next to it. See this? This was just rye. Nothing underneath. See that? So now we've got all those weed problems underneath. But out here, this is Roundup Ready alfalfa. So I get this hayed or mowed, and then I can come in and spray and plant in a fall blend again and do it all over again. They just love it. We've carved out the tunnels of food, usually in the lower elevations. That helps us hide it from the neighbors. And then of course we're just developing the vertical structure cover all around. And you would not believe the poults and fawns in this stuff this year, because now all this switch came back where I did round up some of that because that was the stand that was way too thick. So now they're actually going in and out of it. We'll see what happens during the fall, because that's when they usually ignore it. But during fawning and turkey poult time, they are in there. You can see a lot of the gaps that I have in there now. And then that rye really helped to hide them too, because I would always have tracks going right down that tunnel between the switch and the rye when that was working and growing for the season. And then they just love this. I don't know if you can feel that drop in elevation here, but I dropped down about, it's coming right down to the low spot. You can probably tell because of the weed competition. And we're almost hidden from the neighbors without the rye. But that rye being there, that'll eventually be a little bit of switch, and then I'm gonna get habitat going on the back of it. So there's a pretty good tunnel for them. They use it a lot. The browse pressure in here is pretty good. And then that plot right there is always a patch of oats with a few peas in it. And all that's for is a little bit of candy. That's going to be a good spot in the future. I'll show you that someday, that the way that spot is setting up, I really like. All right, guys, to recap what we got going here, Roundup Ready alfalfa in the 12 to 15 pound per acre range is going to give you the ability to have a high protein food source coming out of winter into spring. So you don't have to do anything for food in the spring to get them growing antlers and feeding fawns. You can just let this stuff go. And then what you can do is later on, you can buzz it down and get your fall crop into it as long as you've stayed on the low end of that per acre rate. 12 to 15 pounds is plenty. It gives you plenty of food, but gives you plenty of gaps between the plants to put in your fall mixes, whether that be, you know, a sweet feast, brassica blend, or whether it be the large grain seeds like I was talking about drilling in. That's the rye tunnel that's right behind me there. That's 6 feet tall and bulletproof right now. And then coming around to next year, in the middle of the summer, you've got a hay crop. If you're a combo farmer deer guy, I mean, what better thing could you have than that? Great weed control and fantastic hay crop to come out of it, and a little bit of cover to go with it too. I mean, you saw what happened. I just let that go. It's not hurting the Roundup Ready alfalfa at all. That stuff is still doing great. And the Roundup Ready alfalfa right now is 3 feet tall. So I'm going to buzz that off because I don't really care about the hay. But if you were gonna share with a farmer, you wanted to get some labor out of a farmer, you wanted to get, or it's your property and you're doing cattle or dairy and you're hunting, well, that's the way to go, guys. Now, what's the downside? The downside here is the upfront cost. You got to pay for that Roundup Ready trait. The good news is they don't waste that trait on a bad plant. So you're getting a whole bunch of science on a very vigorous seedling, and it'll benefit you for years to come. My friend Jake Ellinger said he previously had a Roundup Ready plot go 12 years. 12 years. And he did it right. He did the soil tests. He did the amendments it said. But 12 years, guys. I mean, you break that down, even if you're at the top end of the spectrum and in your area, it's 11, 12 bucks a pound, you know, that's what it is for me. So if that's what you're pushing, but you're getting 12 years out of it at 12 to 15 pounds an acre, I mean, you guys can do the math. That's a bargain for what you're getting out of the deal with the ability to hit it with Roundup whenever you want, right? Hey guys, if this was any help to you, hit like, hit subscribe. That's how you pay us back for the free advice that we give you on these habitat channels. We really appreciate the support. That is how you can bump it through no pain of your own. I'll even tell you, opposite as everybody else, turn off the notifications. They're annoying. I hate notifications. You know you're going to come back and watch the channels you want to watch anyway. They'll pop up on your clickbait. But hit subscribe. It's a painless way to pay us back here for putting time into these videos for you. This is Jake Bull, the Habitat Pro. We are in northern Minnesota. Get out and enjoy creation, guys. Good luck this season and God bless. Hey, if this is what any... Hey, if this is what any... Hey, if this is what... Why is that so hard?